fellows, and welcome to Pen Night Radio, where we slay our personal demons and arm ourselves to write our best content. I am your host, PK, unofficially knighted by a fictional character, which means you do not have to call me sir. For our purposes, Alec or PK will do just fine. Now, let's delve into why we're here. Let's take our pens and slay the demons that are dragging us down today. Then, knights, we write. All right, everybody. It is November. November is very important to me. You know why? Because it is National Novel Writing Month, or NanoWriMo for short. The hour is upon us, folks. NanoWriMo is challenging you to write your best work this month. So, what is NanoWriMo? Well, a little bit of background. As many of you will know, last December I embarked on what we call the 365-day challenge, which was popular among celebrities in the year 2020 and was taken up by our dear friend Andrew, the chief operating officer at One True Promotion, for the year of 2020, which was the challenge that produced his debut novel, The Sanguinary Song. The 365-day challenge is essentially you do something every day of the year and you post about it. You say, day one, I did this. Day two, I did this. If it's a fitness challenge, you might say you walked a couple of feet on day one. Day two, you might say you walked double that amount, and so on and so on. By day 365, if you're doing something athletic, you might be doing 365 push-ups or sets of push-ups, what have you. I decided to make the 365-day challenge. I decided to modify it, which anybody who does it can do, to a writing challenge where I would write 2,200 words, about the amount that Stephen King says that he writes daily, that I would write this amount of words daily for the year. And the rest is history. I've spoken before about how the challenge has been going. I've talked a little bit about the pitfalls and how hard it is to move to a new house in the middle of such a challenge and be a teacher in the middle of such a challenge, and how that can affect your daily word count in ways that you may not enjoy. But the bottom line is that the 365-day challenge is happening. We're going into the final stretch of it now because I started on December 1st. And what a treat that the final 30 days of this challenge fall in NanoWriMo. Now, NanoWriMo has always been here. I decided that I wanted to write when I was coming out of high school. I had already drafted a first book, and I decided that I wanted to go to Stockton University to study literature and creative writing. And I published my first book about 2 years after graduating. 2 years was the amount of time it took to complete the book, to shop the book around, to get the book formatted and prepared for publication with Seven Horns Publishing at the time. Throughout all of that, I was so new to the process. I started with my first writing group, writing community of 3 people, 2 friends of mine from my advanced fiction writing class. Oh, that had to be in 2013 summer. And we would just, trade notes and we would workshop each other's stuff. We would provide comments, reader comments, known in the publishing world as beta comments. Beta, like you're beta testing a product, you beta read novels before they go out in the indie world. And that was all I really knew of writing communities. And then those same people, God bless them, turned me on to NanoWriMo, which you can find at nanowrimo.org, where I am right now. Now, let me just read you a little bit of NanoWriMo's mission statement. Every story matters. Let's start writing yours. Writing a novel alone can be difficult, even for seasoned writers. NanoWriMo helps you track your progress, set milestones, connect with other writers in a vast community, and participate in events that are designed to make sure you finish your novel. Oh, and best of all, it's free! Exclamation point. So, that is from the NanoWriMo webpage. It's very self-explanatory. National Novel Writing Month, more specifically the group NanoWriMo.org, are a group of seasoned professionals that are dedicated to helping you finish your book. If you have ever sat there and wondered, I have all of these ideas. I know how to write a book. I've spent my life reading. I know the three-act structure. I know how to develop a character arc. I can create something and I can create it and make it good, but I don't know what to do next. I don't know where to send it. I don't know who to contact. I don't know who to talk to. All of that together sounds and feels very daunting to me. I'm not sure what I should do. You might be somebody who completed something awesome years ago, but you haven't done anything with it because you're just not sure who to talk to. Well, NaNoWriMo is a great resource for somebody who is just starting out. Let me tell you a little bit about my experience with them. The first time I tried it, I was engaged at a community called Stockton Student Television, SSTV, at Stockton University. I was one of the managers there. We were making film productions with our students, which was pretty much an everyday thing. And a lot of the people coming in and out of the place were writers, and more than one of them were interested in NaNoWriMo. And they were just talking in a round circle about how they were going to take on the challenge. And I thought, well, I'll do that. Sure. I got a book I'm trying to finish now. And the minimum word count of a published novel, I'm pretty sure, not a novella, but a novel, is 50,000 words. So NaNoWriMo, the milestone that they set for their authors tends to be about 50K. So I found that out and I said, well, I can write 50K in a month. Let's go. I mean, I've been looking for a reason to get more motivated. And I just started writing more in my then unpublished book, Barker's Rules. And I was just, I didn't log on to the website at all. I just kind of checked in with those particular people, letting them know how my progress was going for NaNoWriMo. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who has ever handled it that way. Once I got a taste for the challenge, I went back the following year. The following year, I figured out how to log into NaNoWriMo. Just went to the website, I clicked sign up, and I figured out how to, set up my profile and all that. And the difference was night and day. I wasn't really talking to as many people that year. I had left SSTV at that point. I was somebody who was operating on his own, looking for a publishing deal. I was very fortunate that Seven Horns, due to my dear cousin Jennifer, who had looked at my book, I was very fortunate that they considered me and wanted to platform me right away. But outside of that, I didn't really have a community at that point. And I was alone. I was saying to myself, okay, November's coming. And I remember this is the time of month where you try to really do a lot of writing. You set everything else aside and you get busy with that word count. I think I was writing a standalone at that point because yes, I believe I was writing a standalone novel at that point because I had already done significant work on the sequel to Barker's Rules. But yeah, so that project is still a big secret. Can't say nothing about that. Anyway, I logged into NaNoWriMo, and that was where I found my community. I found that there was a spot where I could track my daily word count goal to reach the 50K. I found that I was getting letters from the founders. They were pre-written, of course, but I was getting these letters from the people who run NaNoWriMo, making me aware of things that were going on in the community, events, funds I could contribute to, etc., and so forth, how other people were doing, meeting their goals. But most importantly, and this was the part that really resonated with me, I found that I was getting messages encouraging me to keep going. And I got to tell you, it was such a rare and unexpected thing. I've never, I've seen a lot of websites that say, we can publish your book for a modest fee. I've seen a lot of websites that say, we can edit your novel. We can do this. We can do that. I've seen tons of ads. I've seen tons of ads. And a lot of them, as we all know at this point, don't really go anywhere. It's in this age of social media, there's plenty of bots that show up and say, "Hey, I'm an editor. Give me all your information." And then you make a terrible mistake doing so. Not here, not NanoWriMo. NanoWriMo, I was not only getting messages from real people that had established NanoWriMo long before I got there and were just keeping it running every year, but I was hearing from writers. I was hearing not only encouragement to keep going on my word count, I was not only receiving a little bit of grace in their messages if I failed to meet my word count goal, as opposed to just, jumping on me for not succeeding. But I was also receiving wisdom and experience and these articles about what sorts of challenges writers go through, how we break them down as a process, and how we can cope with and ultimately overcome that process and that cycle. These little newsletters were just a joy to behold because even though I was, again, by myself at that point, I felt plugged into a community, a real family oriented, supportive community that really understood that the lone writer, the lone wolf that's just going home every day trying to make a dream come true, they are in need of some support. And everybody's story is different, and everybody's process is different, and everybody's circumstances are different. And some people might not be getting that support at all. In fact, some people might be actively opposing their dream to be a writer, saying, well, that doesn't make you any money. So what's the point in doing it? Which people have said to me in passing. Um, these people and NanoWriMo understand that writers need support. If you listen, Pen Night Radio is much like NanoWriMo. It's inspired by NanoWriMo. We try to give you advice on this podcast that will get you not looking at that blank page with your mind all tangled up, but untangling your mind and facing your inner demons and putting words on that page, even after you arrived at a point in your day where you thought it's just not going to happen. All of a sudden, you could listen to the podcast and get that boost of inspiration. That is the same mission statement as NanoWriMo because I really feel like, what am I trying to say here? I feel like writers can be easily discouraged when they're feeling a lack of support. I think that when you are isolated, I think that that's when our inner demons can really take over and convince us that what we're doing is just not valuable. We may really like it, but it's not valuable. And a lot of people choose not to embark on the journey of writing down your story and actually putting it through the editing process and showing it to people and getting it ready to be shared in the market. A lot of people just don't take that step. If you are a person who is taking that step, nobody's holding a gun to your head and nobody's asking you to do it. You don't, sadly, don't have anybody at home saying, "Hey, are you going to write that book you're working on? I'd love to read it." No, you're just like I was. You're just going home to your private space and you are carving out that time for yourself because you have decided that come hell or high water, you are going to complete this project. You've already conquered the first step. You've already conquered the first step of deciding, I am going to do this. And once you take that step, you're in need of support. And NanoWriMo really understands that. It is easily one of the best communities I've ever been a part of. It is something that I think is vital for anybody who is considering writing this month in 2023 as the world continues trying to return to normal after COVID and amid just horrific, terrible things that are happening across the world right now. Anybody who's considering making their dreams come true during this time really should consider being a part of NanoWriMo just for the support that community offers. And I'd like to go a little bit deeper. So, November is going to be a little different for Pen Night Radio. This is going to be a podcast series that's much more vulnerable. Last month we talked about killing off characters and writing horror scenarios and writing under pressure and meeting deadlines. We talked about a lot of the scary things about writing for spooky season. But for November, which is National ADHD Awareness Month, if you didn't know, I'm choosing to get a little bit more vulnerable with all of you. And I really want to tell you how National Novel Writing Month changed me. I used to be someone who was convinced that to a certain extent, I could not control what I was thinking. I could not control what I was thinking. Didn't have much autonomy in how I um, designed my schedule. I used to think that there were just certain things I could and couldn't do. I said I can't a lot. The two words that are shattering to anybody's dreams. As soon as you start saying you can't, you are right. You are the judge. You've decided that it can't be done. You have decided that it's not going to happen. And I'm not saying that to judge you or to be, like a know it all. I'm just saying that reflecting on my past self and just the number of times I said, but I can't. Um, at that time, I would write maybe once a week. There were some days where I would write all day and I would actually put a lot down in a document. And there were other days where I would want to put a lot down. But because my distractions were the same on that one day of the week as they were every other day of the week, some days it just didn't happen. And then for a whole week after that, I would be discouraged. I'm sucking on a what you call it, cough drop, because we're also going into winter and every change of season I have allergies. Sorry about that. But basically, I would only write a little bit in a week. And then after that, I would be very discouraged. I would feel like I didn't get enough done this week. And now I have to do all these other things before I can write again. Interestingly, if you watch anything related to Stephen King, he will tell you that the way he writes is he writes a little bit every day. In fact, he does something like 6 pages a day. And he said something very interesting after that. He talked about how once you have a daily writing habit, once you know you can do 6 pages a day, that's anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 words, by the way. You get into a kind of rhythm. You get into like the spirit of practice, like in any pursuit, be it athletic or musical, what have you. You start to get into a real rhythm with what you do with that time of your day and how much you're willing to do and how much you know you can do. And then you're writing more than 6 pages a day. And the next thing you know, you're producing novels on a time frame that you never thought was possible. For me, this was NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo was the first time I said, okay, it's going to be 50,000 words this month. Used to make me cringe. I used to think about the workload and think to myself, I'll never be able to do that. Or I won't be able to play video games, or I won't be able to rest, or I won't be able to take naps, or sit and stare at the wall for however long I would stare at the wall. I used to think of big tasks like that and think that's too big. That's going to kill me if I try to do that this month. But I took the risk on NaNoWriMo. And just as an example, folks, because I produced 50,000 words or more some years for NaNoWriMo, I went into NaNoWriMo last November, produce while I was working on Children of Arc. And I produced a whole short story in just a couple of days. Um, which was bliss. It was amazing to just sit down and start writing a new project, a shot in the dark, no outline, no nothing. And then all of a sudden have an ending in the next couple of days. And to have written so many words for National Novel Writing Month. It was a reminder to me after months of tackling all these different responsibilities. I got married that year in the summer. Um, Life changed in a lot of ways and I was tackling all this stuff and the writing got a little slow as it often does. But last year's National Novel Writing Month just reminded me that when you set that word count limit, you can get a whole story done. I was looking at this short story and I was just like, I can't believe I have something new. I didn't think I'd produce anything new for a while. And when December 1st came around, I was ready to do what Andrew did and take up the 365-day challenge because I was so excited. I was so invigorated by National Novel Writing Month last year. I was sad when the month was over. So I wanted to do the full year challenge, that fabled 365-day challenge. I said, I talked so much about the 365-day challenge in my posts and my broadcast this past year. But what I didn't tell any of you was that it was inspired by NanoWriMo because I just didn't want NanoWriMo to end last year. I was so amazed that I could still do this. And I hate to sound like such an old man. I'm only 31, but when you go around the curb and you're doing new things in life and new priorities take over, something like that can really just invigorate you and teach you you can get back on that horse anytime as long as you are not believing the lie that I can't. That little inner demon telling you you can't do that. You can't do it. You're not good enough. You're not free enough. Your life is a mess. You don't have anything structured or ordered. There's no way you could handle a responsibility like that. NaNoWriMo is the type of challenge because it is an adequate challenge, writing 50K in a month, and because it is a challenge you can modify and design to be realistic based on what your goals are or what your challenges are going to be, and because it is a community that is so supportive. It changed my life because it made me last year, it made me forever a writer who is used to writing every single day. I not only finished Children of Ark and a short story, but Alexa, thank you. Okay, Alexa, stop. That was embarrassing. Thank you for continuing to listen. So, to wrap this up, it changed me. It made me a writer who writes every day, no matter, as you just saw, what distractions come up. I'm a writer who writes almost every day. I'm a podcaster who podcasts every week. I'm a person who people know for doing a lot of things. I did not used to be that person. I used to be a guy who would say, I can't. I should say, I was a kid who would say, I can't, and would take less challenges than overcome them. And I just want to thank the people at NaNoWriMo, if any of them are listening to this, and for the community that inspired me to get into it. If they are listening to this, I would just like to thank you all for pushing me to become a more productive writer who now takes it as a given that one way or another he's going to see his dreams come true, God willing. And also, I want to encourage everyone to give NaNoWriMo a chance and to just go to the website right now, NanoWriMo.org, and just give them a chance. Just look up the community, see if you want to design your profile, have a little bit of fun with that, and start working towards your daily goal. And with that in mind, our next segment, Drop a Line, is going to feature one of the very people that inspired me to get into NaNoWriMo. She is an editor, an author, and an artist, someone who has inspired me on all three counts, although I don't produce a whole lot of original art, but I do admire art, and I do use art in my marketing. I am very excited to talk to her about her experience with NaNoWriMo and also to delve a little bit into the editing process with her. So I appreciate you listening to this first segment. Folks, Pen Night Radio is dedicated to bringing you content that is both entertaining and educational. We share personal and business experience to help you figure out how to tackle the most puzzling issues in your craft, slay the demons that are holding you down, and turn that blank page into a full page. We'll be back shortly with a special interview in our second segment, which of course is called Drop a Line.